Hi, my name's Mike Smith. I'm the vicar here at St George's in Brockwith. Over the past few months, the virus that swept the world has taken and devastated families, lives and communities. And people through that have encountered things that you wouldn't have expected to have been through. Encountered grief for the first time. Encountered life without somebody they love for the first time. We also encounter on a day-to-day basis people and things that affect us. They can be positive or they can be less positive. The person that we speak to in the supermarket, the person who delivers our things to our doors, the person driving in front of us. We can have positive encounters with them and we walk away and we say, oh, that was a nice guy. Or they were really chatty. They were really grumpy. You know, we have positive and less positive encounters with people. I wanted to explore some ordinary characters in the Bible and look at their encounters. And one encounter in particular, their encounter with Jesus. To do that, I want to look at, what was their life like? What was their background like? What was their character like? And then look at how the encounter with Jesus kind of changed that. How did it change their story? How did it impact their story? And how did it change them to go on into the future? The first character I want to look at is a guy called Zacchaeus. If you want to read his story, it's in Luke 19. In the story, we're told a few things about Zacchaeus and a few things that we can pick up that are inferred. So we're told that Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector. So this man had status. He had people who looked to him. He had people that he was responsible for. He was a leader. The next thing we're told about him is that he was rich. He had status and he had wealth. With money, he was probably comfortable for a home, for food on the table. And because he could eat food and have good accommodation, his health was probably good. And that's backed up by the fact that during the story, we see that he can climb a tree. Now, I like to think I'm healthy, but I can get up the tree, but coming down the tree would be a little bit more tricky. And he had to climb the tree because one of the other things that we're told about him is that he was short. But the first conundrum kind of comes. This short, wealthy man of status has to climb the tree. There is nobody around him. There's nobody that notices him. There's nobody that values him that says, no, you come to the front. You'll be able to see Jesus. And when you start to see a character in the Bible get vulnerable like this, where he says he was short and he had to climb a tree, there was nobody there to help him. When we see this vulnerability, we can start to identify with those characteristics, with those feelings. Those feelings of being overlooked, those feelings of being ignored, those feelings of not being valued. So what did Zacchaeus do? We're told that all Zacchaeus wanted to do was see Jesus, which is slightly unusual because most people in most of the stories that you read about Jesus, they wanted to touch him, they wanted to get near him, they wanted to follow him. And they wanted to ask him questions. But Zacchaeus was a bit more wary than that. All Zacchaeus wanted to do was just see Jesus. Encounters with Jesus changed people's worldview. It changed their reality of how they sought and perceived things that were going on around them. And therefore it changed a person's narrative. It changed their story. So Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus. But in the story, that gets turned around. And what we actually see is Jesus seeing Zacchaeus. In the midst of all this crowd and all this chaos that was going on, Jesus walks down this road, gets to this tree, looks up and sees Jesus. He looks and he speaks. And in that he says, I see you, Zacchaeus. I see you. And in the reality of Jesus, in the reality of the kingdom of God, that person that's ignored gets valued. That person who's the underdog gets freed. That person who is overlooked and not seen gets acknowledged and gets noticed, gets valued as a person. But that can be hard. It can be hard to accept that. Because as we see in the story, Zacchaeus gets noticed by Jesus, and the first thing we read after that is the crowds moan and they berate him. Who's this man? How can he do that? And people put him off. They try to put him off, but it's not enough to stop him. He thought, no, there's something in this man that I want to see. And in that result, in that decision, his reality changes. His reality of being a tax collector and taking from people, taking their money, taking their respect and their value by taxing people, is changed round. He sees this reality of the kingdom of God, and he turns round and he starts to give away. If I've stolen anything, I'm going to give it away. If I've defrauded people, I'm going to give it away fourfold. He is giving away his money, his respect for people, and his value. What would that look like if you or I turned around and said, okay, I'll follow that reality of Jesus? If you encountered Jesus in this moment, how would that change life for you? The Spirit of Jesus is with us all. That is the promise. He will be with us always. So I'd like to encourage you, if you feel overlooked, if you feel on the outskirts of things, if you feel not included, then maybe this story's got something for you. And if you just prayed that simple prayer, help me, Jesus, just be surprised at how your reality and how an encounter with Jesus can help you. Thank you for joining me. We are hoping to post more content up in the weeks to come. Check us out on our YouTube channel, and please do let us know your comments. Thank you.